So we're at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. What drew you here? Because I know it's obviously a landmark, as you said. We could have gone anywhere for the interview. Why are we here?
To be honest, I wanted the access that Rolling Stone could provide, to be honest. I really just wanted to look around and explore and kind of learn about the history of this place and see some of the beautiful graves, and this mausoleum is pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know, I find it fascinating. And the view up here is like really wild as well. I don't know, it just felt like, having lived in this city for so long, it's kind of like a bit crazy that I haven't come here. The peacocks.
Those are all your fans waiting to say hi to you. It's true, like this is like very Frank Lloyd Wright, I feel like, and the architecture is so open and sunny where it's not like this dreary, sad place that you're in. I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm sure it changes as the light changes as well, but it's pretty crazy to have like a graveyard with palm trees and peacocks. Like, being British, that's not sort of something I particularly associate with cemeteries.
Yes.
I don't know, it just feels in a way like classically LA, this sort of mismatch of different architecture, different feelings, like these contrasting things kind of like right next to each other, the sort of like old Hollywood glamour of it right next to something super gothic and kind of brutalist. Like, yeah, I find it quite fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring, I would imagine.
It's just such a odd place.
Yes.
Actually, and I think I find that, or in the past have found that particularly inspiring, being here, and you know, just the sort of like variety of people that you meet here and things like that. It has always sort of been, yeah, kind of fascinating to me, I think.
Are you someone who believes in ghosts at all?
You know,
Yeah,
I
same.
feel, I actually, my whole take on it is like, I do believe, but I like to kind of just keep it at a distance and say, like, I believe in ghosts, but I don't necessarily want to like engage with it.
I agree.
But I respect it, and like, do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel even funny talking about
I
it
know.
because I that sounds a little like, I don't know, whatever that is of me, but yeah, I do believe in ghosts, but I like to sort of like, yeah, just keep it at a distance and not go like digging where I'm not supposed to.
I respect
Digging
that.
spiritually, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And do you find that in your songwriting, does death ever come up for you? Like, is that something that you think about?
Yes, having had a friend and like close collaborator pass away, yes, I mean, I have written songs about grief and sort of like regret around, you know, things I could have like said or done in that specific relationship. But then I've also written, you know, really positive songs about like the memories I have of that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, grief is a funny thing, I think, for anyone who goes through it, right? It's like so sort of specific to each person. I lost someone who was like, I don't know, like completely changed my life. And so there's a lot of like feelings to work through with that, especially because they were so attached to my creative life and my creative self, in a really positive way, but also sometimes, you know, in like a difficult way. Being able to sort of express those feelings through my work has been really cathartic for me.
Yeah, absolutely. They say that this particular hall is haunted, but I'm feeling kind of good right now.
It was quite like warm in here as well. It's kind of like greenhouse type.
Almost humid, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I I'm feeling something.
There's obviously so much of old Hollywood here.
Yeah.
What do you think is like such a highlight for you of being here? Because I know there's obviously David Lynch, who died recently, is here.
I know that David Lynch is buried here, and Janet Gaynor, Jane Mansfield.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty wild to have a sort of cemetery that kind of holds all of these like historic people, and so many different types of people from all over the world, I guess. But I don't know. I think, it's funny, like, I think about like death. I was talking to a friend about this recently. Like, it's kind of just like, I'm not really sure what I believe in terms of like afterlife and things like that, and legacy and things. I think it's kind of just like, once you go, that's your experience over in the world. So it's funny to think about, like, I don't know, people, like sort of known people being buried here, because I guess it's like in death, everybody's just really the same, aren't they? Which is, I think, quite cool. Another cool thing about being here, and especially up on the roof, oh wow, it's crazy to look back.
I know. It's really stunning.
It is. Being up on a roof and like seeing the view of the city is like thinking about like, I don't know, like how many great movies have been made here or like based around LA, and like, I don't know, I'm thinking, when I'm here, I'm thinking about a lot of like noir movies that I love, that have.
They also love noir.
They love it.
I'm just gonna keep talking for them the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know, when we were up on the roof, I was kind of just thinking about that, and yeah, it's pretty cool to be here.
How old do your films go that you watch? Like, do you like even like the silent era? Like, what's your taste like?
I mean, I haven't watched like loads and loads of silent films, like at all. I like the Dreyer movies, like Vampire, I think, and Joan of Arc.
Yes.
But other than that, I haven't watched many silent films. So that's on my list now. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, I'm definitely not like a snob when it comes to movies. It's just like, I like watching them, and I will never watch all of them. And I love like when people recommend me things, and my taste is really like all over the place. It's just, I don't know. I like to escape into different worlds. But yeah, there's so much stuff that I haven't seen, and I'm always sort of like desperate to watch, but there's only a certain amount of hours in my life, So I was watching, oh my gosh, The Long Goodbye, that Altman movie.
It's fantastic.
So good. And that apartment that Elliot Gould's character lives in, which is a real place, I forget what it's called. It's not, no, it's like this apartment building that has an elevator.
Okay.
And it's so gorgeous. The elevator is sort of like, you kind of take it up to get to like the sort of apartments, and it's like an outdoor elevator. It's really beautiful. And I think like seeing sort of like real places like that in films in the city that you live in is really, I don't know, it kind of gives me a buzz or something, because it's like, when I watch a film, at least I'm like, oh, this is so far removed from my life and my reality. And then you see a place and you're like, whoa, that's a real place. I mean, obviously, I'm sounding like such a, I don't know, but it's funny being so sort of like, I don't know, close to it.
I find that with New York a lot. You find a lot. So I love when I can like spot a place, like a restaurant. It makes it more real.
Yeah, it's fun actually doing that when you're like, I've been there or whatever. It's, I don't know, it's sort of, it gives me like an adrenaline or something. It's like a cool experience to have when watching something.
Tell me about the first memory you have of coming to LA.
Oh, wow.
It's probably a very long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I don't quite fully remember the first time. Like, I don't have like a Miley Cyrus party in the USA, hopped off the plane at LAX kind of a memory. I'd signed a record deal and I was coming here to record, and I would come with my A&R guy. And it was a different time, in LA, because there was no Uber.
Yes.
So you couldn't like really get around that much unless you drove. And I didn't drive at the time. So I remember feeling very kind of stuck when I would come here. And I was basically hopping around doing like session after session after session, trying to figure out like how to translate the music that I was making kind of at home in my bedroom on my own into something a little bit more developed. And I worked with so many different people, and it was kind of that thing of like very sort of like back-to-back sessions, which I think was such a kind of like LA songwriting thing that was happening back then.
Right.
And doesn't really exist so much anymore now, I don't think. You know, I think artists, generally speaking now, they have their kind of like people that they sort of work with on repeat and are really like locked in with. But back then, especially in the pop world, you know, it was so like, do a day with this person, this, you know, it was like really like that. And during that time, I worked with Ariel Rechtshaid for the first time, and he was the first guy who I felt really kind of like got me and clicked with me. Then I later would keep coming back to LA to sort of work with him more on my first record and kind of like develop that. And he would drive me around in his red Ford. Yes. And like, you know, we would do things like go to Pinkberry, which was so exotic to me. I, you know, never had froyo before and things like that. So that was a real treat. And then also, you know, because I was 16 and I didn't look kind of like a 16-year-old who could like pass for like a 21-year-old and go out. And I didn't really know how to kind of like do makeup or, you know, anything like that. I was like a mess. I was like, you know, it was sort of back in the kind of like runoff of the like new rave days. So I was dressing like, God knows how I was dressing, you know. For that reason, I couldn't really like go out. So we would go to a lot of house parties. And that was, again, a very like foreign thing, because in the UK, especially when I was in school, that kind of culture of like hopping around and like driving around the city like late and like going from house party to house party was not really a thing. But yeah, I think that those are my sort of memories. I remember having In-N-Out for the first time.
When was that?
That was on one of the first trips, and I remember I was staying at this hotel on Sunset Plaza called the Grafton, which is, I don't think it's there anymore. It had really like odd sort of interior choices, lots of pop-tastic art and very kind of over the top and not much like cohesion within the design choices. And I remember sitting by the pool at midnight and having In-N-Out, and that was sort of the life in LA at that time for me.
Was that the moment that you were like, okay, I can see myself living here?
No, God, no. No. I think it was after, because it felt quite lonely, you know, coming here, especially before I met Ariel and sort of was introduced to a few of his friends and stuff like that. You know, I think at the beginning when I was coming, I felt very lonely in a way. Like I was very much enjoying when I got to make music, but it was still sort of like at the end of the day, like I went home to the Grafton, you know? And so I didn't feel quite like I was like connecting with the people I was working with in like a friendship kind of a way until I met Ariel, and then that changed. And then after sort of coming here like a fair few times and being like, oh, like I feel like I have friends here, like that's when I began to think, oh, maybe I could move here.
So now, skipping to the present, if you have just a day off to chill and do whatever you want in LA, what would you do?
I would probably stay in my house.
Same here.
Yeah, I would just stay in my house, and hopefully George would be there too. Maybe he would cook. He's a great cook. I think we would just like watch movies, and that would be it. Or we'd like meet up with friends and go and watch something.
So the last time you were here was in 2021, and you performed here at the Masonic. What was that like?
I never stood on this floor because I sound checked, you know, and then the dressing room is up there. And I remember hanging out on the balcony as well while somebody was opening. And yeah, it is really intimate, isn't it? And it's sort of funny that it's carpeted. You know, now with these chairs in here, it sort of looks more like a church.
It's quite formal.
Or something.
Yeah.
It's quite formal, yeah. It was cool doing this show here. I was playing my album How I'm Feeling Now, and it was one of those sort of like early back from the pandemic
Yes.
kind of shows. So I think there was a real energy around that, you know, like people finally being able to kind of get together and be in a space together, you know, all of that stuff that everybody talks about. So that was really cool. And it actually reminded me of I did this show, gosh, it must have been in like 2018, I think, at the El Rey Theatre in LA, and I played my record Pop 2, and there was just a real, I don't know, a real like energy, and it was sort of the first time I felt like, okay, whoa, I have this like fan base who really understand like what I'm doing, you know, and they're all gathered together in this like pretty small room, you know. There was just this real like heat to it, and I think playing here, it was like a similar kind of experience, you know. So yeah, fond memories of this place.
Pop 2 is like so important to the Angels. It's like such a great moment in your career.
Yeah.
And I listen to it all the time still.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I also think that this show that you performed here was the first time you ever performed Good Ones. Like you closed with that.
Did I?
Yeah, it was your very first time performing it. And I think that's cool. I noticed this connection because obviously the Good Ones video is set at a funeral. So
Yeah.
there's this whole connection of why we're here. I love it. It's like a full circle thing. You are very active on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You've been asked about this quite a bit, but something that I found particularly funny is that your reviews are amazing.
Oh.
You watched Matilda,
Yes.
and your one review was George loved this movie.
He loves it. That's one of his favorite films. I mean, it's such a classic. It's
Yes.
so great, you know, like what a brilliant like Roald Dahl story, you know. It's really like joyous.
And you recently watched the drama. How did you feel about
I watched that the other night. Okay, so Haley Benton Gates, who's in the film,
Yeah.
she was in our film The Moment. I think she is so amazing, like as an actor, as a person. She's a great director, and I think she really like shines in that film. I mean, obviously like Alana Haim's great, like Zendaya and Rob, everyone.
Incredible.
I think the performances were kind of like off the charts in that movie.
Yes.
And I love that final wedding speech. Oh my God.
Help me pronounce it. Is it Eruptia?
You know what? I'm still getting it wrong. You're close. Erupcia.
Okay. What was that experience like for you? It's an incredible movie.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that you went to Poland, obviously.
Yeah. You know, it was really cool actually, like to shoot that film because it was a different process than anything I've ever worked on before. In that, you know, we went to Warsaw. Pete O's the director. He had like a sort of vague premise in mind, but I wouldn't even call it like an outline. And the kind of way he likes to work is everybody gets together, this very small cast, very small crew. Pete was kind of doing sort of like most jobs in terms of like lighting, like
Yeah.
sound, DP, like, you know. But we would all get together and we would kind of just talk about the scenes that we wanted to do that day, and we would sit and like write them together. It's
very collaborative.
Yeah, it was. And actually, you know what, I'll say it sort of felt like writing a song in a way. You know, you get together, you do it, and you record it right
Yeah.
in the moment. And I think, you know, obviously with film, for the most part, everything is sort of like the script is kind of like painstakingly like written and tweaked and
Yes.
perfected, and then you shoot it, you know, and that was just not the experience that we had on Erupcia. And so, yeah, it was a very rewarding experience, and I would definitely make a film like that again. And I would encourage, I don't know, like anybody who's interested in making films to kind of work in that way, like with your friends, like running and gunning it in the moment, small ideas, like, yeah, it was really cool.
Your performance in that was like consistently praised across the board. And I know The Moment had mixed reviews.
Yeah.
Do reviews affect you at all? Do you read them? Is it a big deal to you?
You know, I used to read reviews, less so now. I think Look, I'd be lying if I said, you know, that when somebody says, "Oh, this was terrible," it doesn't affect me. Like that would be a lie, you know. But I think I'm also like at peace with the fact that there are some things that certain people really connect to and adore and love and understand and sort of see a certain emotional depth in that other people just don't relate to at all. No one likes everything, you know. It's like you have tastes that you gravitate towards, and I think like the more I, you know, create work and put it out into the world, I'm just like, that's kind of actually the cool thing about making things. Like sometimes things speak to a really specific group of people, and that's great, you know, and other times lots of people get it, and sometimes people are really adverse to it. I think that's all kind of just part of being an artist, you know, and I think for me personally, like, I think I'd rather my work sort of generate a sort of extreme reaction within somebody, whether that be good or bad, than sort of a reaction of just like, oh, like I'm just not even thinking about that. And I'm sure I've made work where for some people it is that, and that's cool as well. You know
I
what
think
mean?
the worst thing is to be boring, and I think having any reaction is incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the fun thing about engaging in art. Like, it can all make you feel a different type of way. That's like the power of it, I suppose.
You have a lot of film projects coming out. Who would you say is like your dream collaborator?
There's like so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to work with Trier. I'd love to work with Cronenberg, Sofia Coppola. I don't
Everybody.
know. I don't know. Like, there's so many people.
I imagine it's very different when you've been doing music this long and then you get into a different kind of field that you're not experienced with. How has it been learning how to act, and how do you feel about it? It seems like you're very comfortable with it.
I feel like for me, I'm just like desperate to kind of learn and experience like a wide variety of different things on set, and that's why I feel really lucky to have experienced quite like different versions of like making a film, whether that be the moment with Aiden, or whether that be going to Japan and working with Takashi Miike,
Incredible.
or Erupsia. You know, everything's been so kind of different, and like watching directors work and like learning from them, and just seeing how different people decide to do things, like communicate with the people that they're working with. Like, it's just like so interesting to me, and seeing how other actors work. It's like, I feel like I just want to soak everything up like a sponge. And whatever the output of that is, like, I don't even really know. I'm at peace with
Yeah.
it. I want to like enjoy it all and like learn as much as I can. I think that's kind of how I approach things.
This is a big question. Whenever anyone asks me, I stumble, but maybe like top 3 favorite films, what would you say?
I think I would say Cronenberg's Maps to the Stars. It's one of my favorite. I just love Julianne Moore. Oh my gosh. She's just like incredible.
In anything, yeah.
In literally anything. I really like a lot of Jean Rollins movies. I don't know if it's like a top fave, but it's coming to mind just because we're in a cemetery right now. He has this movie called The Iron Rose,
Okay.
which is about a couple who kind of they go on a date to a cemetery, and then they kind of get like lost within the cemetery, and it's really beautiful. A lot of his movies are just like really stunningly beautiful. He has this movie Lips of Blood that's gorgeous, and Fascination is really cool. So I don't know, like, he'd be in there. I love a lot of Altman stuff. The Player, again, being in LA, like,
Yes.
it's cool to mention that. People have heard me like talk to the ends of the earth about Celine and Julie go boating, so I'll just put that in there. But I think it would be so boring to hear me like talk about that again, because I'm just like talking about that all the time, and it's changing all the time. Like, every time I like watch something new, it gets replaced. Like, I watched I'd never seen Bringing Out the Dead, the Scorsese film with Nick Cage. I watched that the other night. I was like, classic. You know, it's
Classic.
just like, it's how can you pick? There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think it's a great list. You are just coming off the release of your single Rock Music. How did that go? The video also with Aiden is incredible. I loved it.
Thank you.
What was that release like for you?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we had such a good time making the song and also making the video. And I mean, the video, it was like, the song is so short. And we shot so much over 2 days. So we were kind of like, God, how are we going to get this into a song that's under 2 minutes? It was sort of like a blessing and a curse in a way. But I actually really injured my back on the set of the video.
Yeah, you threw it out, right?
I like threw it the fuck out. And it was halfway through the second day, and we still had to do this shot where we were driving over the bridge in like a convertible, and I was wearing the kind of like McQueen reference, like Gazana Bain designed neck piece. And so I was being like a little method there, I guess, because I like really couldn't actually move that much because my back was tweaking so much. So
Sorry.
no, I mean, it's fine. It was just, that was like a sort of funny, like additional part of the video shoot. And what's funny, when I was being thrown in the air by all of the guys on set, I was like, God, this is actually like weirdly relaxing. And then like an hour later, it was like, you know.
It's a little meta because you threw your back out and you're also singing a song that references your neck pain.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly. But no, I mean, it was cool. And I mean, we were just sort of talking about it over there, like the kind of response to the song and the video was really sort of fun to me, because obviously there was such a kind of diverse range of people who either like really liked it and got it and was sort of engaging with it on like a kind of emotionally deep level, and then there were people who were like, this is the worst thing ever, and then there were people who were kind of had a lot of sort of additional thoughts and stuff about it that generated a bunch of think pieces. And then there were people who were just like, let me make a TikTok to this, you know. And so I kind of welcome like all of that. Like, again, it's like, it's how I sometimes like to engage with art. You know, my favorite thing to do is talk with my friends about things that we've discovered, you know, and have like back and forth about like why we're really passionate about one thing or not so passionate about another. You know, it's just kind of like natural for that to happen, I think, when you're like enjoying or discovering new things. I kind of like welcome it. It's I never make things with the desire to be like universally loved. That's sort of like an impossible task anyways, but it's not something that I particularly have ever been like driven by.
Yeah.
Obviously, if that happened, great, but like I don't think I've ever made anything that's been like universally loved or whatever. I don't know, like, so yeah, I think it's just sort of part of releasing things, and I kind of enjoy it.
You posted like a teaser of the song before it came out, and I was laughing that Courtney Love commented on it, and she was like, "Stop trolling us. Just pick up a guitar already."
Well, you know, the thing is, I think like people really think I'm this big troll, and I don't really feel the need to sort of explain my intentions behind anything I do. But I'll just say, like, I find that things can be like earnest and funny at the same time, and they don't have to sort of like exclusively like live separately, you know. Things can be like joyful, and you can find things funny, and you can find things sincere all at once. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of my work. And if people interpret that as trolling, then that's fine. But you know, the teaser is like the music from the track, so it's just without like the vocals and the chop, you know. It's like in the song.
You've obviously used guitars in your music before, so I don't think this is a rock album. I know that the internet had a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah.
I love that you've always explored different sounds with each record.
Mm.
Was there any kind of influence of rock bands, though, in this album?
To be honest, like when I make music, I'm less thinking about other music
Yeah.
as a reference point, you know? I actually kind of like shut myself off from a lot of music when I'm making stuff, you
Okay.
know? And we kind of just escape into our own world. Of course, there's a lot of like rock music or rock adjacent music that I love. And obviously working with AG and Finn, you know, they have their band Thy Slaughter. Like, I think there's some people who are like, oh, is the record going to sound like that? It doesn't really sound like
No.
that either. You know, it's like, and you know, obviously, like I've spoken at length about loving like Lou Reed and John Cale and the Velvet Underground, and I love bands like Gang of Four. And it's like, would I say that the record sounds like any of that? No, like I don't really think about genre in this like binary way.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really have thought about genre in a binary way for like a very long time.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, you know, it's cool because I think things are so like cross-pollinated now just because of the internet and how much like access people have to be able to like make music at home, which I think is really cool. Rock album, not rock album. I don't think I've made a rock album. I think I've just made an album that has guitars and
Yes.
none of this bothers me. It's like,
Yeah.
I think confusion in art is sort of fun, and I don't know. It's like everyone is going to come up with their own interpretations of what artists do. That's like the cool thing about being a fan. Like you get to do that.
Can you walk me through how this album came about in general? Because from our discussions, it appears that you weren't really even planning on making new music right away. You had written about it on your Substack too, like maybe I'm just going to take a break from that. So
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, I was really really ready to peace out and like take a break and not make music. I felt very creatively drained and not inspired to write anything new. And then I don't know, it's like then just suddenly it was like inspiration like came and that sounds so like cheesy or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like I sort of believe that if you are kind of like lucky enough to get a wave of inspiration, you kind of have to like chase it. You can't, or at least this is just how I feel, like I can't put it aside and be like, oh, I'll come back to that like later in a month or a year or
Right.
whatever, because it might not be there. And I am always reacting to how the world around me is changing as an artist. And that is how I like write my songs. You know, yes, in ways they're about me, but the way that I am changes depending on how the world is. And the world is changing constantly so fast. And in that moment, I felt that I had things to say, and so I wanted to get those things out of myself. You know, I don't know. It's like not to get all whatever, but I feel like when you're what would I call it? Your like inner self or whatever is telling you to say something. It's like you have to follow that. You have to feel that out and say it. And it's like when you have a thought, you don't know where that thought came from unless it was like a premeditated thing. You just have a thought. You think about something and that's in your brain, and then sometimes you say it out loud or sometimes you don't. And I feel that is the same with songwriting and with inspiration in general. It's like sometimes something just like comes to you and you're like, oh my God, I have this idea, I should get it out. So that's kind of why it happened. I really wasn't expecting it, but yeah.
Did you feel any kind of pressure to follow up Brat at all?
No, because that's just something that from the second I made that album, I knew I would like never do. You know, like I think whenever I make a record, I'm like, oh, okay, like that's that done. And my albums do interact with each other in that they sort of, in ways, like repel against each other. And that's the kind of like connective tissue. I mean, I think for me as an artist, it would be extremely like uninspiring to attempt to recreate what Brat was, because, you know, you sort of adapt and change and you react to the way your previous work is interpreted, you know. And that's not to say I don't love that album. I really love that record. I always will. I have so much fun performing it live. Like, when I occasionally listen back to it, I'm like, oh my God, I love this lyric or this production element. Like, I love that record. But
I was going to ask you if you ever listened to it at all.
yeah, I do. I listen to a lot of my records back,
Yeah.
which probably makes me a sort of evil narcissist. I don't know. But I listen a lot to True Romance. I listen a lot to Pop 2.
Classic.
Occasionally to How I'm Feeling Now. And not so much at the minute because it was so, you know, it's so recent for me, but like Brat occasionally, but not that much at the minute. But like maybe in the future I'll listen more.
Looking back at your career now, do you find that it's very like pre-Brat and post-Brat?
I mean, yeah, of course. Like I think yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. It's like there are some people who really do know me from that record and discovered me at that point in my sort of journey as an artist, and that's all they really know of me, and that's totally cool. But obviously there are like a bunch of people who know me from way before and know a lot of different elements. And I think there's like a division in the fan base of like the Angels versus the Brats.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, I think I can't control any of that sort of noise. So, but for me, I suppose, I think it's interesting as an artist to, you know, when one thing you do becomes particularly known, like it's like it is, there's like a conflict there in a way. And I think I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't. It's like, you don't, you know, before Brat, I was like the girl who sang Boom Clap to people who didn't really like know me.
Yes.
And now to people who know me from just Brat, I'm like the Brat girl who like smokes and wears sunglasses. Not really trying to change that, I guess. I don't know, like, you know, likes the color green, even though I didn't really wear green once during that whole album.
You really didn't.
thing. It's funny the way that like success can also sort of cage you. I've experienced, you know, such a wide like range of like success and failure, you know. I think for me and for the people who knew me before Brat, it's like they know the ebbs and flows of like my process, and I understand the ebbs and flows of pop music and pop culture. So I feel relatively free in creating, you know, whatever I'll do next.
I can't wait for this album to come out. I love it so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for spending your day with me here.
Yeah, we're probably possessed now.
A little bit, probably.